Alright everyone, there's a feud going on between Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom, of course, governors respectively of Florida and California. And it's a gigantic double Astroturf. It's a very convoluted scenario. I'm going to take you behind the scenes because I can see what's going on here. To be clear, I'm not claiming that DeSantis or Newsom or any of the central figures are attempting to Astroturf anything. While I'm not sold on Ron DeSantis, I'm iffy on whether I really believe that he's truly MAGA. Red flag laws apply. While I'm iffy on that, I don't consider him a bad person. I don't think that he's involved with this situation, but I can tell that the situation is an Astroturf. I'll try to take you through it. It's an inverse Astroturf. It's two-layered here, which is why people are not seeing it, and you're not probably going to hear this mentioned by any other content creator earlier than this. The Newsom-DeSantis thing is clearly geared towards a goal that the deep state has had in mind for months now. They're afraid that Trump is going to run for office again. That much is clear. He clearly is gearing up to do it. They're afraid of him. They're afraid for different reasons, and they want DeSantis for different reasons to jump in and potentially become nominee. On the Trump side, the liberals are afraid he will win. They want to stop him before the primary process is over because they genuinely believe that if he becomes the candidate, a combination of huge in-party support, potentially independent support, and certainly a lackluster potential Democratic ticket seals the deal. They are terrified of the person that they've crucified for 5 years returning to office Grover Cleveland style. The Neocons, meanwhile, are involved. They're clearly whipping the flames of this feud as well. They're afraid that Trump will win and lose. They look at it from this perspective. I think they're wrong, but think about how they're thinking about it. They see a person with huge in-party support, but with a more limited capability than, they believe, DeSantis to wine and dine independent voters. They look at his baggage, which is mostly concocted and bullshit, but the public does sense it as baggage, and they say we think he has a low ceiling. They made this mistake in 2016 as well, but they're convinced that he'll lose. Meanwhile, why DeSantis? It's not just because he's reasonably young, reasonably outspoken, fairly popular in state. He is a rising star within the GOP. That's not the entire reason. The liberals want DeSantis to primary Trump, first and foremost just to have a primary. They're afraid that if Trump escapes unscathed and the Democrats have a grudge match, a battle royale of some sort, that it makes it lopsided. So they want a primary anyway. I think that they would seize upon any particular Republican for this. But specifically, they think that DeSantis would lose. That is, that what the liberals think is that in a messy primary, either Trump wins but is not unscathed. That evens the odds against him because the Democrats are clearly going to have some issues. If Biden decides to begrudge them standing down and decides to run again, it's going to be a freak show. You will have anti-Biden candidates rise up anyway. They just want that same for the GOP. They think, the liberals, the Democrats think, if Trump emerges victorious, therefore, at least he's not unscathed. If DeSantis emerges victorious, they will carefully make it look as though there was hoodwinking and honking going on in the primary, which, there may be anyway. The MAGA Republicans, therefore, will not solidify behind DeSantis. He is robbed of some millions of votes because people who are really gung-ho for Trump will refuse to vote for anybody else because they will feel that the party is throwing the election. The Neocons want DeSantis instead of Trump because they, conversely, think that he will win. They think that DeSantis is younger, more well-spoken, the baggage issue goes away, and that he has a shot at it. It's just partisan for them. They want to win the election. So it's a double Astroturf. My recommendation would be people should not take the bait. I hope that there is a debate between Newsom and DeSantis. And to be clear, I think DeSantis would utterly annihilate Gavin Newsom. Keeping in mind that the people that you're trying to woo during a debate, it's not your opponent, it's not your audience, it's not your opponent's audience, it's the fence sitter. It's someone who's interested in debate, but they haven't really made up their mind. 2-to-1 odds says DeSantis utterly annihilates Gavin Newsom. If you're debating over immigration specifically, all DeSantis will have to point out is, hey, you had no problem with Obama flying people all around the country illegally. You had no problem with Biden doing the same thing over the last year and a half. Why are you so upset about the fact that your donor class buddies in Martha's Vineyard are getting some diversity? you are a bigot. And it would be very funny, and so I hope that they have that debate. If they do, I will probably live stream it. But DeSantis should not take the bait of jumping into the 24 election. Here's what I would see playing out. I think he loses. Trump has too much in-party support. He has therefore taken the bait, and unwittingly, I don't think that DeSantis is in on the joke, so to speak. He has unwittingly put himself into a position where future MAGA Republicans will blame him if Trump loses. If Trump wins, he'll cock-block DeSantis from national politics, and if DeSantis manages to win, he then proceeds into an election where the MAGA Republicans will cause him potentially to lose. There's no win for DeSantis in getting into the 2024 election. Just for his own self-interest, there's no particular reason why he should do so. He also potentially pisses off Florida voters that are really, really happy to re-elect him. They think he's a great guy. He's running 5 to 10 ahead of Christ. He's not going to have a real problem getting re-elected. And if there's a polling skew, it'll be in the double digits. It won't even be close. Popular governor. He's got a good thing going. I would recommend that he not pull a Beto. Beto O'Rourke was in the House in Texas anyway, decided to abandon this to run for the presidency, lost, tried to roll that over into the book deal and media appearances and shit in order to launch a Senate run, which is the one that he really wanted to win. He ended up losing, despite being funded to the tune of $100 million, against Ted Cruz at a point where the Republicans were hemorrhaging support, by the way, so it doesn't say good things about him. Now he's about to end his political career by getting crushed by Greg Abbott, who can't even stand up out of his fucking chair FDR style. I hope that Ron DeSantis doesn't make that same mistake. While I'm not sold on him, Trump runs, whether he wins or loses. In the future, if DeSantis runs, a hell of a lot of MAGA Republicans would definitely vote for him. He might end up in a battle royale with Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and certain others. I think that he would have an edge. But if he launches in now, he's just feeding the goddamn Astroturf. So there you have it. There are inverse reasons why the liberals and the neocons want DeSantis to take the bait, get even bigger in national politics. They will carefully try to promulgate and groom him as a candidate, potentially for 24. It's just because they want a messy Republican primary. You already have a technical incumbent with 80+% support in party. Trump is guaranteed the position if he runs for it. Unless there's a health problem or he actually gets indicted, which I think is still a long shot, by the way. Looking at the current trajectory of the DOJ's witch hunt against him, they'd be indicting a person who's already standing for office, and that wouldn't go over too well with independent voters. That's about all. Peace out.